Good evening, and welcome to the Uniform Debate, Politics and Play. Tonight we delve into a question that sits at the intersection of sports, rights, and commerce. Should athletes be permitted to display political messages on their official uniforms? It's a topic that evokes strong opinions, and we have two distinguished guests to help us navigate this complex issue. Arguing in favor of this permission is Dr. Evelyn Hayes, a sociologist specializing in sports and culture and a former college athlete herself. And arguing against it is Mr. Kenji Tanaka, a sports marketing executive with extensive experience in the industry. Dr. Hayes believes athletes should have this right, while Mr. Tanaka is concerned about the potential repercussions. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here. My core argument is straightforward. Athletes, like all citizens, possess fundamental rights to freedom of expression. These rights should not be arbitrarily curtailed simply because they are on the field or court. Their professional sphere, particularly the uniform, is an incredibly visible platform. To restrict athletes from using this platform for messages they deem important, messages that often reflect deeply held convictions about justice and equality, is, in essence, a form of censorship. History is replete with examples of athletes who have bravely used their visibility to advocate for social change. Think of Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the 1968 Olympics, whose silent gesture spoke volumes about racial inequality. More recently, we've seen athletes support movements like Black Lives Matter, demonstrating the powerful potential of their platform to amplify crucial societal dialogues and contribute to positive change. These actions are not distractions from sport. They are often courageous stands for human dignity. Their uniforms, in these moments, become symbols of solidarity and calls for action. Now, I anticipate the argument that sports should be apolitical. However, this assertion overlooks the historical reality that sports have never been entirely detached from social and political currents. From international boycotts to national anthems, politics are already interwoven with the fabric of athletic competition. Pretending otherwise is to ignore a significant dimension of sports' role in society.
Thank you, Alex. Dr. Hayes, I appreciate the opportunity to present a different perspective. While I respect an athlete's individual right to expression, I believe the primary purpose of sports is to provide entertainment, inspire, and, crucially, to foster a sense of unity among diverse groups of people. Introducing political messaging directly onto team uniforms risks significantly undermining these core functions. Sports events should be a refuge, a place where people can come together, regardless of their political affiliations, to share a common passion. From a practical standpoint, political messages, particularly those that are controversial or divisive, can alienate significant segments of the fan base. This isn't just about hurt feelings. It has tangible consequences. Sponsors might withdraw support, viewership could decline, and the overall commercial viability of a sport or league could be jeopardized. These are serious considerations that cannot be easily dismissed. Furthermore, athletes are at their workplace during games. Teams and leagues, much like any employer, should have the prerogative to set dress codes and maintain a specific brand image. The uniform represents the team, the league, and the sport itself, not an individual's personal political platform. The focus must remain on the athletic competition. Finally, I must warn of the, quote, slippery slope scenario. If certain political messages are permitted, where do governing bodies draw the line? Who decides what is acceptable? This could inevitably lead to contentious disputes, inconsistent application of rules, and an environment where the sport itself becomes secondary to political debates. This detracts from the very essence of athletic competition.
Mr. Tanaka, Dr. Hayes compellingly highlighted the historical role of athletes in significant social movements. How do you reconcile the ideal of sports neutrality with these impactful moments from history where athletes indeed use their platform, sometimes including their attire, for political expression?
That's a fair question, Alex. I acknowledge those historical instances. However, I differentiate between individual acts of protest outside the uniform context and messages on team uniforms. The uniform represents the team and league, not an individual's political stance. Allowing such messages on official attire could co-opt a team symbol for personal agendas and fracture unity. Athletes have other avenues for expression.
Dr. Hayes, Mr. Tanaka raised concerns about alienating fans and commercial repercussions. How can an athlete's right to expression be balanced with these business realities and the desire for sports to be inclusive?
True inclusivity embraces diverse viewpoints, even if uncomfortable, fostering societal conversations. Shielding sports doesn't make them more inclusive. Commercial interests shouldn't supersede fundamental rights like free speech. Perhaps brands could see positive association from supporting athletes championing social justice, rather than just fearing negative reactions.
While I respect the ideal, professional sports are businesses reliant on broad appeal. Alienating a significant audience portion harms the sport and athlete opportunities. It's about context. The field, represented by the uniform, should be unifying.
But isn't their influence derived from visibility on that field? Suggesting they leave their conscience in the locker room diminishes their impact as role models and ignores that inaction is also a stance.
Let's consider regulation. If political messages were allowed on uniforms, who decides what's permissible? Leagues, teams, or athletes? Mr. Tanaka, what are the practical challenges of such regulation?
The challenges are immense. Defining acceptable political speech invites bias. What one deems human rights, another sees as partisan. It's a quagmire. The most equitable approach is a clear ban on all-time political messages on uniforms to ensure neutrality and prevent disputes, keeping focus on sport.
Dr. Hayes, considering Mr. Tanaka's concerns about regulatory complexity and bias, how could a system permitting such messages be implemented fairly? How could it prevent hateful or disruptive content while allowing meaningful expression?
Difficult doesn't mean impossible. Guidelines developed with athletes and ethics experts could focus on universal human rights or pre-approved causes, similar to existing campaigns. We must distinguish legitimate expression from hate speech, which is already prohibited. It's about a framework respecting voices and sports integrity.
The moment you define acceptable political speech, you're not neutral. Who defines it? What are their biases? It's a Pandora's box, inviting endless conflict over subjective interpretations.
But a blanket ban is also a political stance, prioritizing commercial comfort over athletes' engagement with critical social issues. Inaction has consequences and implies certain values are more protected than others. In closing, I want to reiterate that athletes are not merely entertainers. They are influential figures and, for many, role models within our society. They possess a voice, and with that voice comes the right, and often the perceived responsibility, to speak on matters of consequence. Allowing them to display thoughtful, respectful messages on their uniforms is not about politicizing sport for its own sake. It is about acknowledging their platform and fostering constructive dialogue on important social issues that affect us all. Sport can, and should, be a powerful force for positive societal good. This potential is amplified, not diminished, when athletes are empowered to express their views thoughtfully and responsibly, rather than being unduly silenced or restricted from engaging with the world beyond the game.
Thank you. My closing argument centers on the unique and precious value of sport. Its remarkable capacity to unite people from vastly different backgrounds, cultures, and political persuasions through a shared passion for the game. This unifying power is a fragile attribute, one that is seriously jeopardized when the arena becomes a platform for potentially divisive political statements. We risk alienating fans, fracturing team cohesion, and damaging the commercial partnerships that sustain professional sports. While athletes, as individuals, undoubtedly have personal views and the right to express them in many forums, The playing field and the official team uniform should remain neutral territories. These spaces must be dedicated solely to the spirit of competition, sportsmanship, and the shared enjoyment of athletic excellence, preserving sport as an escape and a source of common ground for everyone.
Thank you both, Dr. Hayes and Mr. Tanaka, for your articulate, passionate, and truly thought-provoking contributions to this evening's debate. You've given us a great deal to consider. We've heard compelling arguments on both sides, highlighting the central tension, the fundamental right of athletes to freedom of expression, weighed against compelling arguments for maintaining the neutrality and unifying potential of sport. There are clearly no easy answers, and the positions you've both elucidated demonstrate the depth and complexity of this issue. I encourage our audience to reflect on the different perspectives presented here tonight. Thank you for joining us on the Uniform Debate, Politics and Play. Good evening.